Welcome to Cardone Debates. We have a lot of people here. We're going to be talking about whether or not you should live in the United States, or is everyone leaving? Hey, Gary. Gary, you're muted, but I just want to say your lighting looks really good.
Oh, really? Hey, yeah. I hate the layouts, though, because it looks like we're vertical. But, well, you know, I've already left planet Earth, and I am in the Cardone cosmic universe, as you can see from my background.
Oh, so you're in space with the aliens?
I did not say that.
Okay.
I said I'm in my universe. Anyway, is the lighting good? I mean, I think we should bring up our lighting expert, Mike Mack, biggest dick in the planet, because my lighting's not good. So I changed my background. Go ahead, Mike. How you doing, pal?
I'm sorry. Was that on camera? That was inappropriate. Always go from the side. Lighting looks great, brother. I like the blues. I like the purples. I like the reds.
Thank you, buddy.
They bleed well. They contrast well.
I'm a bleeder.
Nothing wrong with that. Good to see y'all.
Good to see you. Good to have you. Dana, who else we got in the room? Anybody else that's got a little bit more? Yes.
Rob, Digital Asset News. Thanks for coming to debates.
This ought to be a good time. Hello, everybody.
Rob, what's up, bro? How many passports you got, Rob?
I got one. United States, and that's it.
Damn.
It depends on all what you want to do. My question is, are they going to take it away for dual citizenship like they want to do?
Well, is that really what they want to do, or do they want to say that the Congress and senators can't have dual citizenship?
Oh, it's whatever they want. Whatever they feel like they should do, because they're entitled to it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of entitlement, you know, there's a guy in the room, I think, he's driving right now on a special mission, but a guy that's been entitled his whole life, given everything on a platter. Oh, Punch here. Punch, come on up, buddy. How you doing?
Good, Gary. How you doing, buddy? I'm my professional chauffeur job, my part-time chauffeur of kids. That's what I do.
Yeah, bro. Well,
side hustle.
Enjoy another 10 years of it, because it's a pain in the butt.
I know. It's about what I got left. So
when they're that age. When they're that age, it's awesome.
Yeah.
When they treat you worse than they treat Uber is when it becomes a pain in the ass.
Yeah, exactly. That's coming. I know it, but I'm bracing myself.
Now, we also have Dustin in the room, don't we, somewhere? Dustin's here.
Team America!
Dustin, how many passports do you have, Dustin?
I was shocked that I was given a passport at all from America. Thank you, Trump administration.
Wow. They gave it back to you, or?
Yeah, like I have one of those things. So international travel for me has wildly varied depending on who the president is. Under the Obama years, if I traveled internationally, I got the latex glove treatment, not the white glove treatment.
Hey,
the bend over and cough treatment. And then when Donald Trump has been president,
did they do a good job?
Free to move about the world. So looking forward to it. I do work in a bunch of like foreign countries though. So yeah, that's cool.
Do they know you work in these foreign countries, Dustin, or is this just on your side that you work in these foreign countries?
I mean, if you're a nation that wants to adopt cryptocurrency like officially, you're probably going to end up on the phone with me at some point.
There we go.
So it's kind of a fun, like, little project, little side quest, you know.
Tone, what's up? Thanks for joining us.
Oh, hey guys, is everyone already on?
What? Yeah, we're all live. Welcome to debates.
I'm good. I was trying to get home, but the Ubers were not cooperating, so I'm just walking and decided to join. And since I'm in a foreign country, figured this would be just as good.
Maybe Puncher can help out since he's doing Uber now for his side gig.
I don't know if I can get to. Are you in an island? If you're in an island, I can't help you.
I was on an island. I just flew in from Isla Mujeres, Mexico to Panama, and I'll be here the rest of the week.
Well, Dana, maybe we should say Merry Christmas to everyone and start off with you. Why don't you take us on to the topic, what we're discussing, what the debate is, and who's on doing what for what, when, and where. And Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, Joe.
Merry Christmas.
The season joy is unbelievable. I'm getting ready to just pull my entire identity off social media because there's so much negativity on this planet right now. Anyway, I would like to move to a country that's actually positive. But what are we doing, Dana?
We're going to go around and have everyone say what country they're representing. I already kind of know this, but the point of this debate is to talk about pros and cons of being in the United States versus outside of the United States. A lot of people are leaving. There's a lot of tax benefits, obviously, health benefits. But most of the time you don't really figure this out. Tone, I'm just muting you very briefly because you have a little bit of background, but I'll unmute it in a second. Sometimes you don't really know the benefits until you are actually there and you're meeting the people. You don't really know the risks either. And it's a very costly move. You pick up your family, you go somewhere, you find out, oh, the school systems, there's things that you don't really know until you're actually moved. And we have, Rob, who is very pro Puerto Rico. I'm very interested in his personal experience there. Mike has been in the U.S. his whole life, so he's going to be here as kind of like to keep us all grounded. Gary, you've spoken about wanting to jump in a boat and leave the U.S. for a while, sail around international waters. Dustin has a lot of experience internationally, even though he's, USA. Puncher is Mr. El Salvador. He has real estate and goes to El Salvador very frequently in El Salvador. Tone has traveled around everywhere. He's also very into the health world, like me, and all the health benefits of living, in these different islands abroad. Rob is also very into the health benefits of living, close to the water, sun benefits, good diet, etc. So we're kind of going to go through the pros and cons. But I think what we should first do is everybody can start and kind of give your pitch, why you believe your country is the best. And then we'll go from there. So, Puncher, why don't you start with El Salvador?
Okay. So it's not that El Salvador is the best. It's that I was in a position where a lot of things were happening over the past half decade that was very concerning to me. One of which was constantly getting shut off of social media. Then they wanted to inject experimental gene therapy into my arm and the arms of my kids. So what I learned in 25 years of the military being deployed all over the world is optionality is good. And having options, you don't want to figure out what your options are when what hits the fan, because then it's too late. And I've been places where you're in the long line of refugees, which is another line you never want to be in. And we have this idea in the States that it could never happen here. And I admit it's a low probability. I love the United States. I dedicated 25 years of my life in the military to the ideals of the United States. But when these darker things started to happen, I just figured for the safety of my family, and look, if there's a fight to be had here in the States, again, I'm not giving it a high probability. I'm going to be back for that, but I want my family safe. So I investigated a lot of different places around the world, having traveled, been on aircraft carriers. I've seen a good part of the world, none of which appealed to me. First, I looked at Madeira. Madeira is off the coast of Portugal, very kind of separate entity, but very difficult to get to. Long story endless, I saw what President Bukele was doing in El Salvador. And I also knew from business that most of the opportunity in business comes from like really bad to not that bad. From not that bad to awesome is kind of, the last 10% of the opportunity. So if you can get in and see where the stars are kind of aligning and how the dots are lining up. So I went into El Salvador in 2023, not knowing what to expect. And what I found was quite shocking. It was probably as safe as it is now, maybe a little less. But the opportunity with 255 miles of pristine coastline and great waves and great people and good leadership that was coming in and getting rid of corruption. I saw that they were kind of through their fourth turning, and I saw that they needed a lot of stuff that we take for granted here in the States. So I built, some properties. I'm building a house down there. I've got a business down in the Central Historic District where Bitcoin Central Historico took place about a month ago. Gary, your brother, was there for a cup of coffee. And it's just, I saw that what it could be. And we have these US eyes that are entrepreneurial eyes. And I started a business down there with some partners, and I'll stop there. But again, for me, El Salvador, which is through its fourth turning, in my opinion, and isn't going back to what it used to be, I think El Salvador has got a good shot at being the Singapore of the Western Hemisphere as we get into a more multipolar world. And I just thought that was a good place to put down stakes and build a business and a community down there. And that's what I did.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Hey, Punch. How many months of the year do you have to stay there? Maybe you said it.
I'm going down probably once a month, sometimes twice. We just had an opening of one of our hotels down on the beach. So I was there for the ribbon cutting for that. And I'll go down here and there to just check in on things. And my family's never been there, but when we build my house, and we'll just go down there. And again, if anything ever happens here, if it gets to where it was back in 2021, 2022, and if I see storm clouds gathering, we've got options. But I'm down there quite a bit because now I've built up a little bit of a business down there.
Okay. Rob, did you ever think about El Salvador before Puerto Rico, or was it never even in the cards for you?
It wasn't in the cards, but I want to say, Puncher, that's a great story. Thank you for your service. I'm going to go down to El Salvador this summer in 2026. Hopefully I can find some good places. That place is so forward thinking. And just to talk about El Salvador for a second, I mean, not just what they did with Bitcoin, but you can see just how their whole culture changed when they started just to put the MS-13 and the different gangs and incarcerated everybody that were evil and bad and causing the high crime rates. It was like an exact inversion. It was as much as incarceration as they did, crimes, murders, rapes, and everything went down. It was amazing. It's just like you can do these things, and hopefully they can do those things in the United States and take a little cue from Presidente Bukele. But yeah, that's a great story. But to answer your question about El Salvador, it wasn't in the cards, because when I was doing all these things about thinking to move, this was late 2020, early 2021, and it was really just about someplace to go to retire, really, because I had been retired for 5 years already, and I always liked the beach. And since we live in El Paso, Texas, there's no beaches there. So we just thought, well, what's the nearest place and what's the most cost advantageous? And that's when we heard, and actually I heard it from Peter Schiff on the Joe Rogan show about Puerto Rico and how great it was. And I was like, well, Peter Schiff's right on some things finally, so I'll have to go check that out. And then when we checked it out, I mean, it's great. I mean, as far as the tax incentives are great. The opportunity for real estate down here is great. There's over 300,000 empty or abandoned houses, because the way that the structures and the laws work here, that if you pass away or something happens to you, to pass on to your kin, it has to go to everybody. And there's a lot of fighting when you have 10 kids talking about that, or it just goes abandoned. So for real estate, for that is a great thing. For the tax incentives, I mean, of course, it's no capital gains tax here. And then if you have a business that you can export things, that is a 4% corporate tax. So you take on that, and then also low real estate, and the fact that you're in perfect weather, essentially almost 24/7, 365, except for the occasional Hurricane Maria that's come down and destroy everything. And then the infrastructure, there's a little bit of a lag there, but everything else, pretty good, pretty great place, good people, good opportunities here. And then just to have that fantastic weather, it really does make a difference. But to speak on one last thing, I mean, there's no better place than America. I mean, I've had friends from all over the world tell me that, it is a great place. I still believe in it. I was in the armed services for 8 years, and it's a fantastic country. Unfortunately, it has its own little problems here and there. But as far as like for what you want to do and where I want to be, this is the best place for us right now.
What's the thing you like least about it, Rob?
Probably the fact that the infrastructure is so poor and the electricity issue that has it. Before we moved here around 2020, before, it was all run by the state. Then a company came in called Luma, who was a big corporation, said, we're going to fix everything. We're going to fix the infrastructure. We're going to make sure this is very stable and everything else. We still have rolling blackouts on a continual basis. But it gives you an opportunity to figure out just how great renewable energies are, like solar panels and generators and things like that. So like besides that, I mean, the problem is
it's awesome when the main shit doesn't work.
Yeah, it's awesome when the main shit but the great thing here is that when the main shit doesn't work, you still have a perfect place. You just say, well, F it, this isn't going to work. Time to go to the beach. And then you're off. And that's it.
What service were you in, Rob, if you don't mind me asking?
U.S. Army. I was
okay.
91 Bravo, which that was a long time ago, Punch, So then it was a 91 Whiskey. I think now it's like a 91 Whiskey M6. I can't even keep it. It was a medic, a combat medic.
Yeah. Awesome.
Puncher,
every time we showed up somewhere in the armpit of the universe, you guys had already been there for 2 weeks. Like, what the hell are these guys doing here already?
Fucking trying to get everything to save everybody else's ass. Puncher, I remember you from the video that we covered on Samurai Wallet. You were asking all those great questions.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for that too.
Yeah, buddy. I'm on that like a pit bull on a Girl Scout, man. At least I just wanted to get it in front of the president. So I think we're there. Hopefully he does the right thing.
Well, he did. I mean, he did say in the press conference, hey, we're going to look at it. I'll take it.
So I'm kind of curious about, thank you, Rob. I'm really curious about the development of like somewhere like El Salvador and Puerto Rico, because I hear all these things online about, there's like no development in El Salvador. And then I am told, no, it really depends on where you are. And then with Puerto Rico, obviously it's going to be more developed on average, like way more developed on average than El Salvador, I would think, right? These are probably stupid questions, but I'm actually serious. Oh, and by the way, Rob, if you're serious about going to El Salvador, Puncher, you have some Airbnbs, right? So
I do, Rob. We'll take care of you. I got a bunch of free days and stuff like that as a partner. So
Puncher,
reach out and I'll take care of you, buddy.
Perfect. We'll do an Airbnb VRBO swap. I'll stay in one of yours. You stay in one of mine.
Perfect. Love it.
And then you guys can do a follow-up. Which location better?
Good idea. Yeah. To answer your question, I don't know because I've never been to El Salvador. But once I go, I can answer that as far as infrastructure goes and buildings.
Yeah. Well, just real quick on that. Like, I'm frustrated. Some things are frustrating. You're used to things working correctly in the United States, and for example, they got rid of they got rid of the gangs. Then they got rid of all the corrupt politicians. Then they got rid of all the corrupt judges. And then they worked their way through the kind of the administration, like the unelected bureaucracy that were part of the corruption. But when you get rid of all those middle management people and bring in new people with no experience, they're trying to figure things out, and you just want your building permit and your health permit, right? And then a quick example, like we got our building permit after going through what seemed like forever, and it's not a big build out. It was maybe a $200,000 build out. And then the health department rolls in 2 months later and says, you got to tear down this wall and you got to put this here and there. Like, they're just not aligned. So there's a big dearth of a kind of experience, which is frustrating, but it's understandable. But you just got to roll with the punches. And, I just think about how it's going to be. Like, it's not what it was, and it's not what it's going to be. And those are just some of the things you deal with when you're in a third world country that's moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Tone, are you hearing this? Because I want to hear. I know you've been to all these places. We can't hear you if you're talking.
I hear it. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
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 All right, I hear it. I'm almost home, so if someone else wants to go first, because in about 5-10 minutes, I'll be on a proper computer.
All right, we're gonna put you on pause for a minute.
Hey, Tone, yeah, just take the video off because I'm getting nauseous, man. I feel like I'm on a boat, flying all over the place with you.
Wait, don't you want to live on a boat? You don't have your sea legs yet, Gary? Come on.
Dude, that's why
I'm
I'm
gonna
not
give
on.
Gary the stage. Gary, I'd really like to hear your opinion on getting a boat.
Well, I don't have good luck with boats, so I don't have a affinity for boats. And that I would say that 3 years ago, somebody asked me, "Hey, where would you go?" Because I was actually looking at moving to Russia. I actually think Vladimir Putin is doing an awesome job for his country, and I probably would feel safer in Russia, in Moscow, than I do most certainly in Europe. Now, I spent 10 years on my first mission in London. Probably came back here 10 years. I bet I didn't come back here 12, 15 times. Now, I sat on the board of a large company, so, or I was there in their executive team. But I did as little as I could to come back. And the reason for that was I was really trying to integrate into the UK society, and what the Americans had to offer me for what I was doing, it wasn't even relevant. So one of the things I learned from doing that, I then did another 4 years in the east part of England, in a place called Essex, Rayleigh, between Rayleigh and London. And one thing I learned from that is that if you don't assimilate yourself into the culture, then you're just a tourist. And I hate being a tourist. Like, it's the last thing I want to do is go on vacation. I don't like vacations. And the reason I don't like vacations is I'm always a tourist. I'm just getting the shallow piece. But like when I went to London, it was a fascinating experience for me because today I have more friends from Europe than I have in America. And I think I made an effort, but I also think Europeans have a different relationship to relationships than Americans have to relationships. Americans are extremely transactional, and you can get in their. I was getting ready to say you can get in their door, or their bed, or their pants within instant, like easy peasy. Whereas it's more like this in Europe, but if you indoctrinate yourself into the environment, I found it to be wonderful. I mean, look, the reason I say that is that I would encourage everyone to go live in another country for 3 to 6, 12 months. I think I have not done enough of that. And if I had any regrets, it would be that I haven't immersed myself in other countries, because that is an experience and an adventure that you can't really put a price tag on. Now, for me, the reason the boat came up is, no offense to anyone, I have zero interest in living in a country that doesn't have power. I'm spoiled rotten, dude. I like my 7 units of air conditioning, and if I have to live in a third world environment in a war, I will man up. But until I have to, the other thing is the problem with some of these locations is they become very intensive with the expats. So what happens is that people cluster in rich people cluster into an area, and now you're not really experiencing the island. I want to go experience a place. Whether it's, and I'm not an island guy. So the reason I came up with the boat was it was the only nation where I could put myself into a sovereign territory, a la offshore, in international waters, and be safe. Because I actually, like 3 years ago, I felt very unsafe here. And if Trump had not won, I probably would be doing something. I mean, quite seriously, I'm not like one of these celebrity, I'm going to leave America. Hey, like I'm either going to go to jail or be taxed so badly that it won't be worth staying here. And I will not be this guy in California. I love some of my friends in California, but it is not my problem that you choose to stay there and then complain about housing prices. There's plenty of fucking houses down here that you can buy in Florida, 350 grand all day, every day, 7%, boom, boom, boom. You have as many as you want. So a house in LA at $1.5 million is not my problem. Like, I move when it gets too expensive because it becomes a war zone then. Like, you would not stay in a war zone, right, Punch? You would be like, no, this is getting, that's why it's so fucking expensive and you're paying extra for it. So
yeah, you bring up a good point, Gary. I felt the same way. I felt like a darkness was coming over our country. And again, I wanted optionality, but I'm not interested in living in a shack in some third world country either. So quite frankly, I had a lot of places on my list. And even El Salvador was like, I was betting on the come that they were going to follow through on the promise that I saw. And that's why I ended up there. And so far, so good. And they treat expats really great because you know what?
What they've done better than any other country is to clean up the crime.
I would walk there anywhere alone at night and feel, I know I'll be safe. And it's amazing to think that that was the most dangerous country in the world 3 years ago. And now it's the safest. I mean, it's amazing. We had a guy steal the tips out of our tip jar in our business. And, you know, in the States, you walk out with $900 worth of stuff and no one's going to say boo. They grabbed the guy, they arrested him. They made it, you know, they're not. And I said, listen, he's a poor soul, you know, just take it easy on him. And they're like, no, all due respect, sir, it's not up to you. We punish our criminals. And I'm like, roger that. Okay, I get it. So
yeah. So where I was headed, Dana, was I loved London. I started in London, then I moved to Chelsea. I was right behind Buckingham Palace. Started integrating with the people there, fell in love with England and with London in particular. The beauty, the culture, the people, the coolness, like, you know, having dinner 3 tables from Madonna and like in these posh, crazy places, meeting these eccentric English and European men that and women, quite frankly, that was all cool. But today, I would be scared to fly private through Stansted into the UK. I mean, seriously, and some of you guys that have known, I've been saying this for about a year. Like, I love London, and people think I'm crazy, but London is a terrifying place today. And that's exactly what's going to happen to New York. It's happened already in California, and no one's really, really paying any attention to it. The crime rate is off the charts. Okay. So if I'm going to go somewhere, I need to understand, hey, where is it safe? Because this world is becoming HVC or no HVAC. Okay. No Wi-Fi or no, like you got to balance these things. I think most people are going to go with convenience. They will never consider moving, which is really, we should be having 2 discussions. One, hey, what are the opportunities and where are the best places to go and what are the inconveniences, but also the value of doing it, not just for the security or the protection or the optionality, but to learn another area. Like, when I moved to London, I'll shut up here, but in 92 or 94, when I moved to London, I think the passport rate for US citizens was less than 30%, like 28%, something really ridiculously low. which says we're very insular, right? We all just think about America. And most certainly that is my observation from most Americans that have not traveled. They have very little understanding of the world around. And for that reason, to me, that's just to travel and have those adventures is really cool. Tone's going all over the place, man. Dustin's been all over the place. These are guys that, they can float, or they have floated pretty easily around the globe. And then there's people like Mike Mack that, hang in Texas, and he's cool. See, I think Texas is a fucking safe place, right? If we're going safe and good people, I would have said that about Utah up until 2 months ago. See, it's changing very quickly here now. It's like, wow. So I'll leave it to you, Dana, to take this wherever it goes.
Well, really quickly on your safety, if we're talking about, whatever best location there is for safety, I just want to say that I have not been robbed ever, other than once in China. Once in China I was robbed. And then the next time was in New York when someone took my groceries. And that was just a few weeks ago. So not a big deal, but it's just really the mentality of very opportunistic. In terms of health, I'm very interested in locations health-wise, and I think, Rob, you are. And Tone, you are. I think you've been kind of traveling around a bit, maybe with that idea in mind, looking for the healthiest spot, or maybe you already decided on that. But then you also went to the Isla retreat on that island, like the Isla Island. Am I saying that right?
Isla Mujeres. It's island
yes,
off the coast.
Isla. Okay. So I'm curious, because Puerto Rico, as an example, really great, good sun, low pollution, right? A little more populated than a place like El Salvador. So there's some health benefits if you're in an area that's less populated. And you spoke to Jack Cruz recently about some of these things. But if you were to make a map of all the best areas, do you think health-wise outside of the United States, what do you think those would be?
Oh boy. Yeah, on the health side, it is a little bit challenging. You want access to good, clean food. And I gotta say, the US has a massive advantage here. Not that the food is good and clean in the US, it's just that in the US, you have a lot of good stores. So you have farmers markets every weekend in every town and city. You have down in Florida, where some of you guys are, there's Sprouts, which is like one of my favorite supermarket chains. So you could always find good, clean food in the US. Even though the average person doesn't know that and they're eating crap, this is where I guess Europe has a little bit of an advantage, where the average person is eating better. And you also should be able to find healthy options. However, Europe is the last place where I would want to be. So I couldn't agree more with Gary. I don't even want to go to Europe on vacation anymore. I see Europe as the Soviet Union, basically. To me, Europe is what the Soviet Union... Europe is like the Soviet Union of the 1930s, basically, when Lenin and Stalin took over. That's basically how I see the European Union in my eyes. So I try to avoid it like the plague, basically. So most of my time is spent in Latin America. I'm in probably the second most safest country in Latin America, which is Panama, after El Salvador. So Panama would be considered the safest until Bukele took over El Salvador. So now El Salvador is on the list. The infrastructure in El Salvador, as you guys know, still has a little further to go. And again, when you're shopping for good, clean food, you don't really know what you're buying. I mean, when I was in El Salvador, went to the supermarket, I was struggling to find proper food. There is no grass-fed beef, at least if it is. I don't know if it is. Couldn't find any lamb. Couldn't find any proper lamb chops. Very, very limited. Even on the egg side, like they're like, you don't know, they're not labeling, right? Like I eat about 6 to 12 eggs per day, so it's super important that they're pastured. But unless I'm buying them directly from a farm, and maybe if I actually move to El Salvador and I make all of these connections, the food situation would become easier. One of the places that I'm really eyeing is Roatan, Honduras. It's an island off the coast of Honduras, specifically a zone called Prospera. If you Google Prospera, you're going to get a lot of, very controversial zone, mostly for political reasons. Honduras just had an election. Still unclear who's going to be the next president of Honduras because the U.S. is intervening in that election. So there are advantages to the U.S. There are also a few other countries that I like. To be honest, like Gary said, Russia. I mean, I wouldn't move to Russia, but it's not a bad choice. Like if I had to choose between living in a European country and Russia, if I was forced to, like for the rest of my life, do I want to live in any Western European country or Russia? I would probably prefer Russia because I think 20 years down the line, it'll be better than any country in Europe, from Portugal to Spain to France. You can name them all. I haven't been to all of them. I really want to go to Croatia. But again, if you're on the euro, if you're part of the European Union, you're kind of screwed. There's nothing. You have no say in your own laws or anything else, right? This is where Prospera is the opposite. Prospera is a city being built by a corporation where it's in the constitution of the federal government of Honduras that they will not set any laws. So going back to what someone else said earlier, if I want to buy a piece of land and I want to build a building with a restaurant and a gym and anything else in that building, there will never be any federal government bureaucrat walking onto my property. They have no jurisdiction, right? So I don't need a building permit from the federal government. I don't need to deal with a health inspector. None of that exists. So this is why I'm really liking Prospera. It's a small island, which is why I never considered Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has amazing tax advantages. I'm probably not in that high of a tax bracket to really care about those ridiculous tax advantages on saving millions of dollars. But my problem with Puerto Rico is there are restrictions, and I don't ever want to live my life under restrictions. I have to live there 6 months. Again, that's a rule I don't want to follow. So for me to move to Puerto Rico, I'm mandated to be there a certain number of days, and that kind of conflicts with my freedom in my brain. So Puerto Rico was never an option for me. Latin America, I think, is great. You don't need to learn Spanish, which I'm struggling with myself. There is no perfect place, guys. The best place is to be mobile. In my case, I mean, look, I am single. I'm not raising a family. If you have a family, it's very, very different. I am looking for a place to settle down. Where that's going to be, I'm not sure. It's good to have multiple residencies. And the reason why I'm not looking at Asia is, unfortunately, there is no path to a passport. Whether you are in Thailand or other Asian countries or Bali, Indonesia, you're always going to be a tourist. Here in Panama, I'm a permanent resident, and all I have to do is learn Spanish, and in 3 years from now, I can go ahead and apply for a passport. I may not get it. I may have to apply a couple of times. The bureaucracy here is slow, but at least, I can get one just by being here, which is also a real good advantage on staying in other countries. I can leave it here. Let other people talk. I can always jump back in. One quick comment on the boat. I don't know if I agree with the fact that you don't have a jurisdiction when you're out in the middle of the ocean. I think that's a little bit of a misconception. I've looked into this somewhat, interviewed some people as well. When you're close to a coast, you are part of their jurisdiction, and when you're in the middle of the ocean, you're part of jurisdiction of the flag that's on your boat. I mean, that is your jurisdiction. Also, other risks of being on a boat in the middle of the ocean are obvious. So that was also not a path for me.
What do you think? Thank you. That's a really thorough response. I wouldn't expect anything less from Tone. What do you think the benefits are?
but the question, the most important question though, is this one right here. Is your beard real? Tone. These people don't know how to say, wow, look how awesome he looks. I think his beard is absolutely real.
I definitely have to say one more thing. I know I hate to hug all the time. So the reason why I'm not in the U.S. and I don't sleep well in the U.S. For multiple reasons. I've had multiple run-ins with U.S. Law enforcers of all kinds of agencies, and I just don't sleep well in the U.S. I sleep a lot better in any foreign country. I mean, it doesn't help that I was there on January 6th and all the Bitcoin stuff I've done for a decade. And I don't feel comfortable in the U.S. I'm sorry. I've had like even when the majority of my time is spent outside of the U.S., I still deal with more U.S. authorities than in any other place. Like there's a reason why the United States has the most people in prison. It's such like bullshit when they say, "Oh, U.S. is like safe." I'm not even talking the criminal side of it. I'm just talking from the authorities themselves. I think that the U.S. is, if you're going to cause any kind of waves, if you're a public personality, whether it's in the health space, in the currency space, in any space, you go against the machine, they find a way to fuck with you. And I don't sleep well at night. Like every time I come back to the U.S., I'm like, there's always a chance that I'm going to get in trouble. So I prefer to sleep outside the U.S.
Hey,
Tom,
Mike,
where are you from originally?
I'm Russian Ukrainian.
Ah, got it.
Mike, when you hear a guy like Tone say that about America, how do you respond to that? Because I don't think his comments are, they're most certainly worth listening to, right? How does a guy in Texas?
Oh shit! I've been thrown across the back of a police car numerous times. My dad was a cop. Didn't matter. Most of that down here is just for fun. So, yeah. But no, that's one reason why I like the USA. And even though I don't have any litany of, there's just not a lot of comparisons there. I don't really have any desire to go outside of the United States. And the reason why I say that is I don't really even have that big of a desire to leave Texas. God knows if I did want to leave Texas, it would take me long enough to get out of it, right? Go up through Amarillo, I'm halfway up the continental United States. You leave from Louisiana and try to hit El Paso, that's like the longest, mileage sign ever. By the way, yeah, Robin, and I heard you were in El Paso, Robin. I just wanted to say I was exit liquidity back in 2021. In March and November, and so you got me through a lot of tough times. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate your content and all that you've contributed to the crypto and finance world. So I've enjoyed listening to you.
Thanks,
Mike. I drove from Kingsville, Texas, to Phoenix, Arizona. It was the longest drive of my life, man.
Bro,
it was brown and shitty, and there was lots of it.
You got to go up, even though you don't want to. You got to go up through New Mexico and take Route 66, basically, or whatever it is, and try to go up through that way. Because at least there's some things to see. Yeah. You're only going to see people that are making those route. When you go 10 all the way through, like I would do from Houston. I've made that trip to LA a couple times, and you can make a lot of money helping people that get pulled over, that they're running out of gas or something like that. Like that is a tough mental stretch to be able to go through that. But I like Texas because I like the East Texas. I like the rain. I like the trees. I like the green. I like the desert and the wide openness of West Texas. I like the humidity that I live in down here in Houston, and I like the cold, the cold, snowy areas up in North Texas. So I don't really see. And the thing is, I don't want to adapt to another country's I don't want to. I just don't want to. I like the way that I do it now. I like the way my style is now. I know people, and I respect the fact that people want to learn other countries and they enjoy those, you know, those adventures and things like that. I just don't. And so,
well, Texas is a different bird, right? Texas isn't your average state. And, you know, I come from Philly, and, you know, trouble finds you in Philly. I could go on and on and on why I didn't want to live in Philadelphia. And I grew up there, and I just realized there's no place to raise a family. But Texas, I lived in Texas for a couple of years when I was in flight school. I would have no problem living in Texas, quite frankly. And Texas is always 1 foot out the door from secession anyway. So
well,
I love
see,
Texas.
we've been jealous of you guys up in the East Coast, right? We're jealous in the fact that y'all can go from state, y'all can have dinner or lunch with someone in another state. That's inconceivable to me. Like, how do you meet someone in another state that day?
Yeah, crazy.
It doesn't make any sense that y'all can travel from state to state. It's really cool. But and I say the USA, and I say this partly with shame, but partly just to be honest. I like the USA, but I've always considered myself more of a Texan than an American. I think it's just, I don't know. That's exactly, just kind of beat into our heads.
That's why I posed the question to you, because I see you as a Texan, not an American.
We do, and Puncher, you're right. We grow up with the folklore of, we have our own grid, we have our own Air Force, we have our own ports, we've got
damn oil companies.
We do look, how many states could we divide into if we had to? Like, we do kind of, you know, we do kind of see it like that a little bit.
And you got your share of beautiful women too, which is always nice. Nice cherry on top.
The humidity. See, and I'm married to a Hispanic girl, so I don't need to go. I don't need to really visit any Latin countries.
Yeah, same thing here.
I'll be here all week. Tip your waitress. Try the veal. It's fantastic. But yeah, so that's kind of it. I just don't want to acclimate. Really.
It's okay to cut Mike off when he's rambling and move to someone else.
I have a question. All these places we've spoken about, Gary, you're like, well, I don't really want all the expats. I do, because I don't want to learn another language. I'm wondering though, if that's necessary. Like, if even I'm in Florida, in Miami with my family, I need to know Spanish. So if we were to make like a tier of places that we've listed, El Salvador, Puerto Rico, all these other places, do we need to know another language?
Yes. Well, I'll just say, doing business in a country where you don't speak the language, you might as well be in a wheelchair. I mean, It's exhausting. First of all, you don't know what's being said. It's generally not good to your side of the negotiation. But I'm just not a language guy. I took language for years in college, in high school. I can conjugate the shit out of a verb for you, but unless you're in it, and I've done business in Mexico as well. We opened up Planet Fitness in Mexico. But you were some old padrone down there who's calling the shots. It's very, very difficult to know what's going on, and that's why you got to kind of, like to Gary's point, you have to ingratiate yourself into the culture. Like, my business partners in El Salvador, one owns the largest marketing firm in Central America, so he does all the talking for me. You know, I'm just I can bounce things off of him. And the other one's an Irish banker named Niall, who married a El Salvadoran woman. So I figured I got all the bases covered. But if you go down there and you don't learn the language, you're at a severe disadvantage, in my opinion.
Same with, I guess, all the other islands that you visited, Tone, same thing. I guess Isla. How do I say that?
Isla Mujeres. No, on the little islands that are very touristy, you can easily get by on English. Like in Roatan, Honduras, you can get by on English. In Isla Mujeres, you can get by on English. In Cancun, you'll get by on English. If it's a very touristy town, you will get by on English. I'm very bad when it comes to languages. I mean, I do speak English and Russian, but they're both native to me. They were both like my native languages. But I'm dyslexic when it comes to reading, writing, spelling. I'm good at math. Give me a chemistry textbook over a novel, and I would be way happier reading that. But I do need to start learning Spanish. I was able to get away with it because if I'm, dating a Spanish girl that would speak English, so I always have like a personal translator. But other than that, yeah, you do kind of need to learn Spanish. I prefer Latin America still. And the main reason is because the culture in Latin America is very similar to the culture in the US in a way. They're both like anti-colonial, freedom viewpoints. So this is where Latin America and the United States, they're very similar. They have similar constitutions. They have, so even fairly similar political structures. It's just that Latin America, they're a little more, I don't want to use the word corrupt. That's the wrong word.
Corrupt. You can use that word.
They're corrupt. Yeah.
Look, I mean, the U.S. is equally as corrupt as any Latin American country. It's just that the U.S. has a little more checks and balances versus something where Latin America, where the moment you're a president, but you're going to prison once someone else becomes president. The U.S. hasn't done that yet, but not just the president, like anyone in that jurisdiction, anyone as part of that cabinet. But hopefully, Latin America has a bright future. The other thing I want to say was, I know I'm going up against a Texan, and I definitely respect that view. There's only two states that I would want to be a resident of, which is Florida or Texas, because they're the two states that are most likely to become their own country someday, and the sooner that day comes, the better. Ideally, Florida, Texas, and all the states in between unite so that it's easier for them to break off. Another reason why I try to avoid the U.S. as much as I can, but with family in the U.S., it's kind of hard to permanently avoid it, is I hate supporting, governments that I disagree with my money. And even though I was a huge Trump fan, and like I said, the January 6th thing, and voted for him in 3 elections, I could not be more unhappy with what Trump is doing in this go-around, to the point where I wish I voted for Kamala. Not that it would have made a difference, but at least we'd be closer to getting Texas its own country if the Democrats had won again. So maybe there is a reason. The sooner the U.S. breaks up into multiple countries, the better it will be, because I think U.S. is creating a lot of global problems, and I don't want to support that federal government. I just don't. If I'm going to spend my money, I want to spend it in a country where I want that money to go to the people of that country and even the government of that country. So El Salvador is a place I love visiting, and other countries that aren't, causing trouble all around the world.
Hey, just to speak to what Tone said, especially about Puerto Rico. Tone, there's I know you say to come to Puerto Rico, they're going to make you stay here 183 days. They want you here 6 months and a day. And because of that, that's going to give you your tax incentives. So there's kind of like a little loophole, which is that when you're here in Puerto Rico, if you want to go to someplace outside the United States, let's say you want to go to Singapore or you want to go to Colombia or wherever else it is, those days don't count against you, because they want you to be in Puerto Rico and or some other place as opposed to just being in the US. If you're in the United States for 184 days, then Act 60 goes away. But if you're in, say, Puerto Rico for 90 days, and then you go into Russia for 80 days, and some other place for another some days, as long as it's less than the combined amount that you're in America, that is the loophole for Act 60.
No, I'm aware. I know there's 3 options. One of them is as long as you're outside of continental US for 11 months, it doesn't matter where you are. But that's, again, too restrictive. I'm usually more than 30 days in the U.S. As much as I avoid it like the plague, I'm still in the U.S. closer to 3 months a year, no matter how I slice it.
3 months is fine. Just do that. And then the last thing about the, speaking Spanish or being wherever else, it's amazing. Every place I've been to is, as long as you just try a little bit of Spanish, all of a sudden everybody magically speaks English for the most part. And then it kind of works out. But when you don't do it, they're like, and just to touch on what Gary said, it's they kind of look at you like you're not integrating into our culture. You're not trying. But when you at least try, they're like, this sorry sack, we'll help this guy out.
And For France is the same way. They pretend like they don't speak English, but they all do.
Yeah, that's it.
Interesting. Is it true about Puncher? Would you agree with what Tone was saying about most of El Salvador, or even just all of El Salvador, that you go to the grocery store, you can't really find food right now? I mean, I saw that.
No, you can find food. It's just that you can find food. Just the quality is like suspect.
What you gotta.
I've heard even worse than what Tone is saying, which is like some areas there's sometimes not even grocery stores, or the grocery stores that are there are just very, very limited, and then you don't know what you're getting.
So they have a Super Selectos, which is like a U.S. grocery store. They're building more of them. They have a Price Mart, which is kind of like Costco. But you got to understand that up until 3 years ago, there were no real connectivity with the United States, right? So, for example, we were going to open up a burger shop, but we couldn't get really good beef because it didn't exist. But when you go to Cisco Foods, we flew to Florida, we went to Cisco Foods, and they're like, hey, we really want to open up that market. So those lines of communication, those trade routes are going to get better and better and better. They just didn't exist. Most of the stuff we have to buy, we have a Thai bubble tea concept. We have to buy that stuff from China. And then it gets on the slow boat from China, and then you hit a 30% tariff when finally gets there. So those are the things that are creeping forward, but they're getting better and better as like U.S. franchises start to move into El Salvador. Like I would open up a Planet Fitness or some of the other franchises I'm involved in El Salvador tomorrow. But in doing that, I have to open up those trade routes, but then they're open for everybody once I've done that. So it's just going to take a little bit of time, I think. And Tone's right, but it's getting better, and that's a direction that I think is positive for the future of El Salvador.
So there's a lot of business opportunity then, you think, in El Salvador. Do you think it's a good idea for someone to open up a business there?
Yeah, I mean, look, they're still figuring stuff out. The taxes, like you have to declare monthly taxes, and they're kind of onerous. But if you buy a house, there's no real estate tax. You buy your house, you pay 0.5%, and you never see another real estate tax again. So I like that. And you can own fee simple title to your property as a non-citizen. That's wonderful. So there's goods and minuses. And what I'd like to do is kind of penetrate the government a little bit and ingratiate myself with some of the people in Bukele's administration and just show them how to do things, because there's not a lot of leadership in that middle management level. There's great leadership at the top. The people are awesome, but the middle management, to the extent that you're going to have a government, you need a government to just let things function. That's where they're lacking. But again, I think it's going to get better and better and better. And I feel bad because Dustin hasn't even said a word yet, and we've said a ton.
Well, I love Bukele, and I think that he's done a model that could be taken a lot where. But listen, this is the anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. My family signed the Declaration of Independence. There is nothing you will find anywhere in the world that you cannot get or build in America still to this day. And if you want to try to run to another country because you want all of the things that you don't like about the U.S. government, somebody else to take care of it, no one's going to take care of it for you there any more than they are here, which is it still requires our involvement and fight. And all of these things that we don't like about America are things that it's incumbent on us to do something about. It's one of the things I love about El Salvador. Bukele came up and had to build new prisons in order to fit all of the bad people from both the criminal side, the government, right? It was one giant blob that had to be taken out. America still provides you the best opportunity to grow. I've been all over the world. I work with governments all over the world. I still love to come home to America, and I would never abandon this country to go into another country. All of the negative things that the U.S. government does, the corruption, I've never been, and what's interesting about when you do business in other countries, you work with governments, but you find out it's not that they're less corrupt than the United States government. Almost universally, somehow they're even more corrupt. It's just not done at the same scale because the country doesn't have as much power and impact as the United States does. Those governments all certainly do terrible shit themselves. And if you find yourself on the wrong end of people with government power, it doesn't matter where you are. So the lesson I would give to people is this. It's pretty simple. If you think that you can move somewhere, you chase yourself wherever it is you're going to go. So the same bad decisions that you're making health-wise or otherwise, you're going to find a way to make those same bad decisions, whether you're in the United States or in another country. You can make the best of it. Now, what I love about Puncher and El Salvador and some of these other countries that I have and maintain regular presence in is you can find opportunities like Puncher laid out, which is when a country is moving from terrible to not so bad, there is full of opportunity. But for me, I could never imagine being for all of the sacrifice that America has made to make the world a better place, I could never imagine leaving America to go somewhere else because I didn't like something that was happening here. I'd rather roll up my sleeves and fight whatever fight I've got to fight in order to preserve and pass on the ideal of American freedom that really has improved the quality of life of the world more than any other era, any other time. We live a better life because of the way that America has taught the world to act and to think. And that's what we got to do. Florida's amazing, but you know what? Texas is amazing. Arizona's amazing. Nevada's amazing. Even some of the liberal hellholes, California has all kinds of amazing things to offer. We just have to re-engage. Take the things that you don't like and just stop putting up with it. If you try to go somewhere else, you're going to run into the same issues. It requires us to take personal responsibility for the way our lives are and to do it. Moving is not going to solve it. Has been my overwhelming. When you see people go, we end up saying is they go wherever it is they travel to. And I love to travel. I love to visit. I love to ingratiate myself. But I feel like I've overstayed my welcome when I'm in a country if I've been there longer than 3 months.
Well, so here we go. So I agree with you. However, you said the ideals of America. And in my opinion, we've gone so far from the ideals that make this country great. And we're on a trajectory, in my opinion, that's leading us further astray from those ideals. The original ideals were, and the novelty of our founders was that, our rights come from God, and then God gives those rights to the individual, and then the individual empowers a weak central government. And then if you want to live in a state, the idea of federalism, you can live in a state that is more akin to your way of living, and then ultimately your locality, right? But we flipped that on our head with the central bank, and now we've got a very strong and powerful central government that states are relying upon. So the idea of federalism is no matter where you move, you might be under that blanket of the federal law. Just think about what Trump's talking about with AI regulation, for example, and a million other things. So we've wandered. Look, I'm all for the fight, man. I took over the Philadelphia Republican Party in my spare time as an active duty military guy. And it was easy, but then it reverts right back the minute I left. So I guess the fight is, I'm not quite sure where to fight because structurally we've moved so far away from our original founding. Central bank has a lot to do with that. Look, I'm all for it. If we can eliminate the Fed and get back to a more base constitutional United States of America, I'm great. I'm just not sure who to punch in the face to get that done. So I'm going to El Salvador for optionality for my family so that when that fight does come, if it does come, I'll be here. I'll be hopefully a leader in that fight, but my family is out of harm's way. That's literally my thinking about putting a beachhead in El Salvador, which is going in the right direction, in my opinion.
So Poacher, listen, I'm with you, which is right. There's some apples to apples, right? Which is compared to Europe and the other developed, freedom in America is still well advanced, even though we are fighting globally people who want to centralize control and force us into universal conformity. And right, it's terrible. Like, we should fight that. I think what El Salvador is doing now is kind of federalism, which is like Bukele gave us a blueprint of things that you can do to actually clean up your government, which is if Bukele can take El Salvador from being the highest murder rate per capita in the world to being the safest Latin America country per capita in the world, like what did he have to do to get that done, and what can be emulated at different scales? I don't know. Listen, I'm very black-pilled on the U.S. government, but as negative as I am about the U.S. government, I am as positive on the American people. Like, the American people are still the most ingenuitive, innovative, interesting, hardworking, decent humans I've ever come across anywhere. It's still the place that I would want to interact and do business and everything else, primarily. But I also love to travel. I love how interesting other cultures are. Right? I think Americans should travel because every time I go to a country, I bring something back with me that's interesting. But as far as the systemic problems, like, unfortunately, if you think you're going to be able to go to somewhere like El Salvador, if America falls, if they turn us into the UK and social media, you're starting to go to prison over your social media posts and they take our guns in America, you think it's not coming to El Salvador and everywhere else? Like, we are the last bastion, as imperfect as it is, right? If America falls into full centralized control, commie tyranny, the whole world's fucked. The whole world is fucked. There is no escaping. You're not going to go hide in Antarctica or some tiny little nation and be able to avoid the overwhelming pain. We've got to roll up our sleeves and continue to. And it's the shittiest fight ever, Punch, right? Like, obviously, I've gone through the same stuff. I've taken over parties. I've ran. You know how many candidates I've elected who turned out like, oh, well, now for some, I'm a deep state douchebag, like all of the other ones. We have systemic problems that present themselves over and over again. So you have to take care of it at your own community level. But I don't begrudge you at all putting a beachhead in El Salvador. I've got places in other nations, right? I've got other governments that I'm friendly with and cool with, because I don't know if the Democrats ever take power again, people like us, like people who want freedom, are so fucked, right? And because Trump's not doing a goddamn thing to go after any of them. And so, like, unless they pay, right, unless their doors are getting kicked in at 4:30 in the morning like ours were, right, unless they're like, my fear is that, like, the next time Democrats get power, I don't know what America becomes, but, like, I don't know that it's as simple, because Speaker Micro Johnson is as bad as Hakeem Jeffries, right? John Thune is as bad as Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer. Like, they are one stupid little incestuous crew, and it's all corruption all the time. I think we got to pull a Bukele and build some new prisons and throw these mofos in them in mass. And I think things would get better very, very fast, because I don't think the American people are corrupted. I think the system as a feature corrupts the people that we try to go represent, and it incentivizes the worst of us to go seek the office, because most of us don't want to go beg rich people for campaign donations like 90% of our day. Like, who wants to sign up to be a whore who dances your fucking ass in front of a bunch of rich people? Get out of here. So I just, for me, I love other countries for about 3 months, and then I'm like, yeah, no, I'm supposed to be in America. Like, we've got to come in and just absolutely smash, like, the corruption, same way Bukele did, and then figure out how to return to, like, just allowing the innovation. But with all that considered, it's not Europe. There's no island I've ever been to. There's no country that I would be like, oh yeah, I can't find any of the advantages here that I can't find in America somehow. Like from a non-political government level.
I would love to jump in on this chat. So Dustin, I completely agree with you on the American people, and the overall freedom in America. So America was different. This is why my family came to America. I was an immigrant in America. I came to America when I was 10 years old. And we were legal immigrants to America. So I was a refugee. We were on food stamps. They were called food stamps at the time. And, my mom was a doctor back in the Soviet Union, and she couldn't be a doctor here because medical degrees don't transfer. So, I've done well with the freedoms that America gave me. Probably would not have, I don't know what I would be right now if I remained in the Soviet Union, and probably would have still been in Russia, I guess. I'm not sure what my path would have been. But here's where I greatly disagree with you in that I think the United States at the moment is the biggest cause of global instability, not stability. I think the reason why the world is this stable right now, the reason why there is a war between Russia and Ukraine, the reason why there is all this conflict in South China Sea with China, the reason why there's all this conflict in the Middle East is because of the United States. So I see the United States as the greatest global cause of instability. And if the Democrats win, or had the Democrats won and continue to win, there is a greater chance that the United States would split up into multiple nations, whether that's 2 nations or 50 nations, but most likely somewhere in between. I think that would be great. That will not change the American people, right? Most of the states will maintain what made America great, and that was, freedom for the people. But that's not how I see the United States today. The way I see the United States today is they will do anything to remain the world superpower, including taking the world into a nuclear war, because if the United States can't be the world superpower, if they have to share the world with other great nations, then this planet doesn't need to exist, basically. And that's how I see some of these people think. So that is the part where I disagree, that I see the federal government is one of the world's biggest evils, the United States federal government specifically, as one of the world's biggest evils right now. And one quick comment on the Federal Reserve. I don't have a problem with the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is just there to clean up the mess that the Treasury and Congress constantly creates in the United States. So I actually don't blame the Fed. Sometimes they do stupid stuff, but 90% of the financial damage is because the United States just can't live within its means, and they're running $1 trillion deficit and constantly picking winners and losers. And the Federal Reserve has to come in and do their best to clean up the mess, even though they tend to make things worse. But the mess is created by the Treasury Department, not by the Fed.
But the Fed enables that, Tone. That's where I disagree with you. The United States, our founding fathers said avoid foreign entanglements. And for the first part of our experiment, we didn't engage in foreign entanglements. It was the Fed that enables the government to spend beyond their means, and enables the government to, establishes the Eurodollar system, which incentivizes us to get involved in all these things around the world. Von Clausewitz said, you must first define the enemy. I define the enemy as the Fed, and the Fed was brought to the United States against the exhortations of our founding fathers, who warned us of the dangers of central banking. And I think that, I think that you're right. The government does do all those things, but the government is enabled by the Fed to do those things, particularly now that we have a Eurodollar system.
Dana, so this is a future show. We could actually debate the Fed. I'm not pro-Fed, right? I'm a Bitcoiner, right? So it's not like I'm pro-Fed, but I think the book Creature from Jekyll Island did the world a disservice because it painted the wrong picture of how the Fed was really created and what the Fed was created for. However, today's Fed is the federal government. It isn't. Yes, it's kind of private, but it's semi-private. The president selects the head of the Federal Reserve. And if the Federal Reserve doesn't do what the president says, he will get fired like a fry cook and replaced by a Fed chair that would do exactly what the federal government wants it to do. So while Trump can't fire
Jerome Powell now. The Fed is supposedly independent, which it's not. And again, the Fed doesn't have the best interests of the United States at heart. And I just simply disagree about the creation of the Fed and who created it and why it was created. But we like you said, we could have that debate another time. But I see that as the genesis of all of our problems.
Here's what I mean. Like, sure, like from a legal perspective, Trump can't fire Powell, but Powell is lowering interest rates like Trump wants him to lower interest rates. So most likely, some people in black suits paid Powell a visit, and he's now lowering interest rates. And if Powell did not lower interest rates like Trump wanted, they would have found a way to get Powell out of there. He would have resigned. So yes,
but the idea that a handful of people determine the price of money is absurd on its face. The reason all these kind of malincentives and everybody's listening to Jerome Powell and hanging on his every word is because the Federal Reserve exists to begin with. And it's created so many problems that are all intertwined, and they can all trace their kind of legacy back to the creation of the Federal Reserve. And I'd love to have that discussion at some point, because I think we disagree on that main point of central banking.
I also, right, so I am 100% a non-interventionist, right? I wouldn't mind, I would love for America to be full-blown isolationist, but I also, to me, it's undeniable that the American presence around the world has made the world more stable over time, not less, right? And as a result of having to intervene,
no way, dude.
100%.
I fought in those wars. I was a useful idiot for those escapades.
When in history has the world ever been connected?
I missed the question.
When in history has the world ever been so peaceful and interconnected?
Well, let me ask you, how many countries has China invaded in the last 50 years?
Ever in the last 1,000 years. How about that?
Well, they're not a war country. Why would they invade?
Okay,
they've never done it.
Because they're more worried about their own country. Well,
we still talk about soldiers, but obviously the financial aspect is the biggest controller of the world. Now, if you were to switch Iran, if you gave Iran our power and you gave them, and I'm just picking a random country, this world would be safer. Yeah. Name another country. Name another country if they had our power would be safer.
I don't think any country should have that.
Let me get to the period. Let me just get to the period real quick.
Yeah.
Name another country that exists on the planet that if you gave them our power, because there's not a country that exists that is not every one of them spin beyond their means. There's not one that exists that doesn't. They all spin beyond their means. If you gave them the power to be the most powerful country in the world, every single one of them would take it. Every one of them.
Yeah,
and then they would be faced with the same decisions.
That,
all right, y'all go ahead. I'll wait. Y'all go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Your presupposition is that any country should have that power. We subsumed that power after World War II.
No. I don't presuppose that a country should have the power. I presuppose there is no scenario where someone would not have the power. There's nothing exists in nature where something doesn't have that power, especially when it comes down to an emotional situation. Like for instance, like Dana has the power of being able to control us. Now she doesn't have the power money-wise. Gary has the power to be able to boom the room. And so there's a lot of people that have different powers here in this room. There's no way that we'll be equal, but we would all run this room differently.
Yeah, but
we would all run it our way if we had a chance. If we were the leaders, we'd all run it our way.
If we're all very skilled mixed martial artists, I think we'd probably tend to leave each other alone. Because the juice isn't worth the squeeze for me to try to come kick your ass, knowing that if you kick my ass, it's big trouble for me. I think
right, but that's assuming that there's a conflictive scenario. If six martial artists are standing in a room, why would they fight?
And if you neutralize physical as the difference, that it doesn't appear somewhere else, where somebody uses intelligence to gain an advantage over somebody else or another nation. The other part that I'll say was, don't get me wrong, like America's military has been used. But I also, identifying America as the problem, I think misses the mark. There's a global cabal of people who run multiple nations who are all in the same fucked up little crew who create chaos and then profit off of it. And I don't think that little evil group has any borders that are identifiable, right? Which is,
yeah, they're the ones who created the central bank. That's them. That's them.
No, 100%. It's the same people who profit when Halliburton, right? When conflict arises, the corporations that profit, like, it's not limited to just America. And the idea that this is one of the things that has been very difficult for me to like come to understand, because we're brought up to believe that like you vote and choose if you want to change something, but there is no one you can vote for if you want anti-war. Like if you're anti-war, there's no one you can vote for. If you're anti-bank or centralized bank, there is no one you can vote for that is going to effect the change that you're looking for. But that's universal, right? The insidious nature, when you dig into, it used to be Project 21 or Agenda 21, and now it's Project 2030 or 2031, right? But when you look at how these globalist organizations, the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, etc., how they use money incentives to gain control and put things into every nation, right? Which is, you want money, now you will give us these different things. I have never found even a single jurisdiction, not all the way down to like the town level in anywhere, bumblefuck nowhere, Wyoming, that did not have some of that language inserted in exchange for some kind of grant system that comes in first from the federal level and then the UN level and the global level. We have an issue with the people who want to grab central power, but that's that is not an America only problem. And my argument,
it's a central banking problem.
100%. But my issue is, I struggle when I hear people say that America or the United States is the biggest force of evil in the world. Because dude, like when Tone says that, listen, I think we overwhelmingly agree on ideas of freedom and independence and what needs to happen. I see a lot of people, America ends up getting blamed because we have enough power to interject into a bunch of places that we probably shouldn't. But when we have, I don't think it's been a force of evil overwhelmingly. I think most of the decisions have been made to try to advance our own self-interest. Not in this pie in the sky that like, oh, we want people to play nice. We only want people to play nice because we had an economic trade structure that incentivized us to open up new markets that we could then take advantage of. So, like,
enabled by the central bank.
In the way,
I always come back to the same thing. We were never like this prior to 1913. We weren't. You know, we were pretty much focused on our own shit. We weren't going, except the Barbary pirates. We did that one time because they were attacking our trade vessels. But other than that, you know, we were basically protecting our homeland and we were leaving everybody else alone. I don't know, Gary, what do you think?
Oh, speaking of, I know I'm focused more on the health side of things. I'm just derailing. Sorry, all your posts recently. What the heck is going on?
You have you're sharing an X post that has music.
I don't know if everyone can hear that.
Yep, we all heard it.
I like that.
I mean, listen, I love what's happening in Bulgaria.
Dude, I love what's happening in France and the UK with the farmers.
Oh, I'm sorry. What do you love what's happening? Bulgaria is about to enter the Eurozone to convert their currency into the euro, so now they're fucked forever.
Have you seen the protest?
Bulgaria is going into the Eurozone? Is that what their vote was? No way. The Eurozone's not going to last.
No, the people are overwhelmingly protesting the adoption of digital ID. Like the streets are flooded.
Well, the government stood down.
Yep.
I hadn't heard that they were going into the Eurozone. But if that's what they're doing, then that's a big mistake, a huge mistake.
That video I tried to put up, Dana, I don't know if you can put that up, but like what's going on in France with the farmers, they're literally just taking over the roads, dude. Like there is a revolt going on. And the reason I bring this up is that I think anybody thinking about wherever they are need to understand that systems can break very, very quickly. Like I've been watching this in France for, I can't tell you how long. And I've been early in thinking, hey, this is not sustainable. You're either growing or you're degrading. Like that's just a fact of life, okay? You're either getting better or you're getting worse. And there's no scenario in Europe other than Eastern Europe. I think you're going to have an EE. Right? Like I think you talk about breaking up America, it's more likely the European Union is going to break apart long before America has its problem. Because I think it's to me it's really fascinating that, and I don't know if you can share this video stream, but people should go on YouTube or wherever you see your stuff and see what the farmers in France and the UK are doing. They're literally spraying shit all over the public buildings, all over the Congress buildings, all over the political bullshitters. They are spraying shit. I mean, tens of thousands of tractors just blocking roads. This is how we get change. We boycott the system. And this isn't about Bitcoin. Like this is where I think the Bitcoin community has gone really wrong. It got so insular in its own solution. Instead of boycott these motherfuckers in full, like break their back. We're getting ready to have a fight in Europe. It's going to be really fascinating to watch what happens. Do any British or European men stand up and start fighting? And
yeah, Gary, I hope you're right, but I see European Union uniting into the Soviet Union of the 1920s, right? Like I see the European Union going in the opposite direction.
Poland and the Ukraine won't go with them, dude, because they don't have anything.
Well, Ukraine's not in the European. There will be no more. There will be no Ukraine in about 5 years.
There will be no more European Union.
Yeah, but Bulgaria is entering the Eurozone on January 1st, so they will convert their currency into the euro in about 2 weeks.
I think what Gary's talking about is when the average guy who doesn't understand the machinations of central banking and politics and they just want to live their life, when they get put up against it so hard, and by the way, that's happening to a lot of our young men and women in the United States, where they can't get that first job, they can't afford to get married, they're trying to play by the rules and they can't do it anymore. They start to lash out, but but they don't know where to run to. They just know that they can't sustain what's happening now.
Two scenarios, Punch, right?
Yeah.
Like we talk about all the depression we're having, right? Oh, suicides are up, depression's up. Hey, follow the fucking complete chapter. When that goes up, so does violent crime. Okay, because it's a spectrum of people, dude. They're dealing with these problems in very different ways. But most certainly we are getting ready to get violent kinetically. It's happening right now in Europe. And this is why I think Americans are really, their IQ is very sharp of a full round, which is they have no understanding of the rest of the world, man.
Yeah, but Gary, we don't have the reliability over here of a safety net anymore. And by safety net, I mean accountability, right? The deterrent that, like, for instance, in El Salvador, the deterrent is not the beautiful supermax prison that contains everybody and contains the worst criminals. The beauty of those prisons are they are deterrents. And people don't want to go in there. I was thinking to myself, I don't know if I could exist in that prison.
More prisoners than any country on the planet.
Right. But when you get to be, but think about this though. No, listen.
The judicial system can't even deal with real crimes.
First of all, if you know people who go to these prisons, there's no deterrent to go hang out with their best friends. Their best friends are in these prisons, and everything's paid for. What's the deterrent there?
I gotta run. Sorry, no. I gotta get going. I gotta.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.
Great discussion. Hopefully we could do it again sometime.
We'll do another one. Thanks
Nice to meet you, brother.
Central Banks.
Agree with me, Tone. I'm going to bomb Panama, man.
Well, Trump almost came in here taking the Panama Canal back. That would have been interesting.
Dude, I don't think it's stopped yet. So
Way to
just
go.
because we're not there Tuesday doesn't mean we won't be there Wednesday.
It's only $1.
I think they're going to invade Venezuela. I'm surprised that hasn't happened.
We're in Venezuela's face right now, I guarantee you.
And there's zero reason to do so. And again, hence my views towards the U.S. government. Zero reason for them to go into Venezuela. Zero.
Let's set up a discussion, South America, intervention by the United States, and get Tone and me and some other people have a discussion. Tone, I actually think South America has to be taken over by a major player, or they completely go into the la-la land. Nothing. Like you have to have organization, man. This is centralization versus decentralization. Really fascinating discussion. Hey, does it work at a country level? Because I say no, it does not. It doesn't, man. You need a leader. You need rules, and you need conditions.
And that's the Fed Bank.
Well, that is one example of a Fed Bank, Mike. That's a bad example.
I thought it was a pretty good example.
Tone, thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Mike, is my lighting better?
I think you always look good, Gary. Especially now that it's nighttime there. You look even better.
Movie star quality.
You had a cool sunset. People were liking that in the comments. Yeah.
Gary has a natural evening look to him. Little cologne, maybe a nice drink. Just saying.
I need some 007 music. Dustin, why don't you close this up, buddy? Appreciate everybody being here. Dana, you did a great job. Man, Gary has aged like milk these few years. That's awesome, dude. In the heat or in the flow.
Gary, you look awesome. Don't listen to these idiots.
I don't know why why are people so rude, man?
I said he looked sexy with the freaking with the night and the evening look and stuff.
I don't really understand. Like, it's cool. Let's say I look like fucking Swiss cheese in somebody's asshole. You wouldn't go out and say it.
Nobody said that. I said you look like a movie star.
Dang, I said he looked sexy at a nice evening wear. You had a drink with him. He's got,
All right. Let's go. These people irritate me for some reason. That just really offends me. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but I just find people. I think what I'd like to do is build a database, get Salesforce to build a database for me of people who had mothers who didn't do their jobs.
That's a long list.
I know, Dustin. That's why I teed it up for you, bro.
So anyway, first, Dana, Gary, Merry Christmas, Punch, Mike, everybody who's come on. This weekly Cardone debates become a wonderful part of my year every year or every week. I look forward to it. Listen, be proud of where you're from and who you are. And don't get so caught up in all of the negativity that's being fed to you online to look around and ask yourself whether your life is really as bad as you think it is. Because overwhelmingly, I see people who have every opportunities that any other generation would have killed for. And I see them complaining about a bunch of stupid shit that has nothing to do direct impact in their real lives. And I think that's part of the psyop, right? Like these algorithms feed us into these negativity loops where we end up like hating on who we are, where we're from, and what we can accomplish. Nothing can be further from the truth when you put the armor of God on and plow forward with a purpose, no matter where you are. And listen, if it takes you to other countries, great. Learn from that. If it keeps you here, learn from that, right? We all have our part to play. Life is beautiful, and it's wasted when you let people make you afraid of your own damn shadow. I see it happening too much. So enjoy the Christmas season, my friends, and we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Thanks for coming, you guys.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Dustin.
See you guys.
Dana, want to close this out with wisdom and wise words? Did Mike and Puncher get a closeout? Give everybody a closeout option.
Everybody gets a closer. Mike, go for it.
I just love being here with all you guys. Good to see you, Punch, Gary, Dustin, and Dana. It's good Good conversation. Yeah, Dustin's right.
Merry Christmas,
don't
bro.
don't let it bring it down.
Puncher?
Yeah, listen, I'm happy. I'm a happy guy. I have a great life. I am concerned about my kids, and I think, look, as Bitcoiners, which a lot of us are, we're a little more discerning, and you see things before they actually happen. So I'm here to fight. I'm proud of where I come from. I'm here for the fight, but I do want to protect my family. So to that end, I just like optionality. But trust me, I'm a happy guy. I'm not afraid of anything. If I die tomorrow, I had a good run.
Except the federal bank.
Well, yeah. Well, I do know my enemy.
There we go.
Well, I love you guys. Thank you for coming. And yes, wherever you go, there you are. So.
Whoa, Dana, awesome. Merry Christmas, everyone. You guys
Merry
have a
Christmas,
great
guys.
time. Hey, by the way,
Yeah, thanks.
you guys make sure you go out and do something nice for another human being, okay? Like this, it's a small ripple, but it's better than a negative ripple. So be nice to someone, please.
Let's keep Keone out of jail. That'd be nice.
Yeah, well,
and keep saying the word ripple. I love it when Gary says it. Makes me feel good.
Good night, guys.
See ya.
See you guys later. Bye.